For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of light, and builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith, makers of peace, wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We're mothers of courage and fathers of time. We're daughters of dust and sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We're lovers of light and builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We're makers of peace and wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
Welcome to the Fall 2021 Ordination and Graduation Ceremony of the Chaplaincy Institute. I'm the Reverend Carrie Kopnick. I use she, her pronouns, and I'll offer a description of my appearance for anyone who might not see well. I'm a middle-aged white woman with curly hair, wearing glasses and clergy vestments. It's my honor to serve as the community minister here at ChI, and I'm so glad that you are here. Today I join you from the unceded ancestral lands of the Duwamish people, a people who are very much still here. I honor and bring light to their ancient heritage. If you are joining us on Zoom, I invite you to type into the chat the Indigenous people whose ancestral lands you are on. For those of us who have witnessed previous ordinations and graduations, this one is going to feel a little different. We had planned to hold a small in-person ceremony in a cozy chapel in the hills of Contra Costa County, California. So we planned for recorded music to reduce the chance of the shedding of droplets, and we planned to have just a few people participating in our service to limit any spread of the COVID virus. When we shifted to a completely virtual service, it was already a big change within just a few weeks of a sacred rite. We chose to honor our ordinance plans and continue with a smaller crew. It doesn't mean that this is the new way of doing these ceremonies, or that we don't miss some of our beloved core ChI folks. We do. But come with us for this intimate service that is coming to you from Houston, Atlanta, the mountains of Colorado, New York State, the Pacific Northwest, and our beloved Bay Area. If we had gathered in a chapel or a sanctuary, we would have walked through a literal threshold to come together. So I invite us to cross that threshold now together. Let's take a moment to settle our bodies. Arrive with soul, spirit, and body here and now. Let us reach out energetically to connect beyond time and space. Here we are, who we are. In the words of Yusei Barnwell, we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the spirit of life, of love, of that which is greater than self. We are the Spirit of God. Together, beyond time and space, we gather to bless and honor these beloved people. Come, let us be together.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Lauren Van Ham. I join you today from Chochenyo territory and the Baxter Creek watershed in Richmond, California. For those who may not be able to see me, I am a middle-aged white woman with short brown hair, and I'm going to offer an invocation. In the way that is right for you, please join me in becoming present for our time together. You. We call you by many names. Creator, Yahweh, Allah, God, Goddess, Spirit of life, source of our breath. We begin our joyful gathering today with gratitude. Thank you for the lands and the watersheds where each of us calls home. Thank you for our incredibly diverse family of relatives, human and more than human, who model beloved community through love and beauty, generosity, and surrender. Thank you for our teachers and mentors, our benevolent ancestors and spiritual guides who nudge us toward more love, more truth. Thank you for the gift of our families, biological, extended, and ancestral, and the ways they show us birth and death and right relationship. For all who are here now, creating this virtual yet potent circle, we give you our joy and thanks. We ask you, the one who inspires rocks to become breath and turns caterpillars into butterflies, to bless this gathering. Grant us the courage to metamorphose. Awaken in us the curiosity we need to respond wisely in these times, and then to become good ancestors for the ones yet to come. Fill us with love, abundance, and unity. The unity that is you, and fill these ChI ordinands and spiritual directors to overflowing. May today's ceremony fill them with you and remember them to their unique and very needed gifts. In this time of widespread spiritual, physical, and moral losses, support these new clergy and spiritual directors so they might radiate life and healing to all they meet. In your many holy names we pray, blessed be, and so it is.
We begin today by honoring our graduating spiritual directors. I am the Reverend Dr. John Mabry, director of our Interfaith Spiritual Direction Certificate Program. I use he and him pronouns. In case you can't see me, I am a middle-aged white man wearing glasses and a little cap to cover my bald spot. I'm coming to you from a hotel room in the Finger Lakes district of New York on the sacred lands of the Iroquois. Now you might be asking, spiritual direction? What is spiritual direction? Spiritual direction is a specialized ministry in which two people companion together to discover what the divine is up to in a person's life. On the surface, it looks a lot like psychotherapy. Two people meet in an office, they talk for an hour, they make an appointment for next time. But that's where the similarity ends. Because while in therapy, the subject is the client's emotional life, in spiritual direction, the subject is the client's spiritual life. It's kind of like couples counseling, except the couple is the client and the divine. Together, the spiritual director and the client explore the client's intimacy with the divine. What nurtures it? What gets in the way of it? How can we help that intimacy deepen, flourish, become juicy and life-giving? Spiritual direction requires special training, and our certificate graduates today are exemplary. I am proud to have trained such patient, sensitive, and skilled spiritual directors. I would recommend either of them with a whole heart to anyone seeking a spiritual director. As a school, it is our privilege to award certificates of completion to such accomplished students. If we were here in person, we would hand our graduates a certificate. Happily, we have already sent them their certificates, and so instead, I'd like us to bless them with a song. Fortunately, I have my ukulele right here, because no sacred event is complete without a ukulele. And the song goes like this. Go forth, we've got holy work to do. Go forth, may our prayers carry you. So please mute yourself and sing along with me to bless our graduates. First, let's celebrate and sing to Angela Rausch. Go forth, we've got holy work to do. Go forth, and may our prayers carry you. Now let us celebrate and sing to the Reverend Laura Rowland. Go forth, we've got holy work to do. Go forth, may our prayers carry you. Good singing, and thank you. And now, a blessing for our graduates. May what is holy go before you to guide you and prepare your way. May what is holy go behind you. May it support you and have your back. May what is holy go beside you to companion you and love you. And may what is holy bless you so that you may be a blessing to others. May it be so. Amen.
Next, we'll hear from Reverend Andy, our Executive Director. Thanks, Shay.
I bring you greetings from the New Mexico desert and a message that I was told to pass along to you just last night. The world is waiting for you, ordinands. The world is waiting for you, esteemed guests. The world is waiting for you, whoever you are. Today's program is titled The Breath of Our Ancestors. And how fitting. We are each here through the grace of someone. We each have ancestors, and we each become ancestors. That's how this works, no? Now, this is the place in the service where we pause to reflect, to appreciate, and to receive your blessings on behalf of our honorees. In our virtual ceremony, a basket will soon come down your row and into your care. You'll have the opportunity to make a gift to the Chaplaincy Institute to recognize the tremendous work and transformation of these beloved people. As you make that gift, know that it is received with so much gratitude. Know that you are acting as a faithful ancestor and a steward of future generations of chaplains and spiritual directors. May your gift be blessed. May our ordinands be blessed. May you be blessed. And may the world be blessed. And so it is.
Once I stood in the night with my head bowed low in the darkness as black as the sea. My heart felt alone as I cried, oh no, don't hide your face from me. Like a king, I may live in a palace so tall, with great riches to call all my own. But I don't know a thing in this whole wide world that's worse than being alone. Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the great unknown. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone.
Thank you so much, Andy, for the inspiring words, and the amazing Ruth family for the beautiful music. And thank you all for your generosity. Okay, dear ordinands, the threshold of ordination is almost here. The next thing that will happen is that a beloved one, dear to you, will place a stole over your shoulders. When you answered the call to ministry, you said yes to speaking the truth, your truth, to finding your authentic voice. In the words of Reverend Shirley Strong, the stole is an outward symbol of this decision to make yourself available. to answer the call, to say yes to spirit and to the universe, to say, here I am, I'll go, send me. At ChI and in interfaith ministry in general, we are making the path as we walk it. Our stoles have symbols of some of the many faith traditions, though of course not all, and a hand with a labyrinth. This hand is a call to service, a statement on serving the world using spiritual tools. It's also important to remember the stole is not a status symbol that separates us from others, but instead is an outward reminder of our call. After you receive your stole, you'll be given a charge by someone who is important to you on this journey. This person knows you well and will call you to your best self and the core of your ministry. After your charge has been given, please share with us a homily. Speak your truth. Tell us the things you need to say in this sacred moment. We will receive them with love and grace. Let us begin with Rika and her stole, charge, and homily.
Turn the other way. Which way? Oh, which way? Towards me. Oh. Camera? Yeah.
Rika, yours is a ministry of compassionate healing and action. I charge you to bring forth the wisdom of your ancestors that now rests within your divine being. I charge you to step into your power as a woman of spirit, vision, strength, and compassion, so that you may live into your calling to be a spiritual healer, social activist, and wise elder, holding sacred, loving connection with others. And I charge you to lift up your prophetic voice, rooted in social justice, while remaining grounded in soul-renewing spiritual practice and artistic path attuned to spirit. In joy and with every blessing, may it be so.
So, thank you. Speech. Thank you. Elizabeth. Elizabeth. In the book. My script. Bodhicitta is a Buddhist concept that describes a state of mind. A bodhicitta's desire is to achieve enlightenment in order to free beings from suffering and bring them to a state of enlightenment. The bodhicitta mindset, for me, describes a compassionate mind, one who is concerned with ending suffering. As a child, my young mind struggled to understand why there was so much suffering on this planet. The Holocaust, the enslavement of Africans, the slaughter of indigenous people, and the poverty I saw all around caused my heart to bleed, to suffer. But suffering is often the seed of compassion. And so my own compassionate heart was born. Continuing my compassion journey, I have learned from many teachers. But on this subject, the Zen Buddhist teacher, Roshi Joan Halifax, most speaks to my heart. She says that 3 capacities are required of a compassionate being:
The first is to be deeply present, to be present with a quality of attention that is both broad-based and laser-focused on the present moment. An early lesson about compassion came from my father. Our family wasn't well off. We lived in the housing projects in Harlem. But my father always kept spare change in his pocket in case we ran into someone who needed it. I learned to become laser focused on people sitting on park benches or hanging around the stoops of the tenements to see if anyone might need help. To this day, I still keep spare change in my car. The second dimension of compassion is wisdom. The wisdom to sense into what will serve others in their circumstance. By cultivating knowledge of diverse cultures, spirituality, and the causes and effects of oppression, we become adept at recognizing when harm is being done, as well as avoiding doing harm ourselves. The third dimension of compassion is embodiment. Compassion requires action. Our wise observance and skillful assessment bring us to the point where action is required. In May of 2020, Darnella Frazier found herself in the presence of several officers who were attempting to kill George Floyd. One had his knee on his neck, the others were watching. She was confronted with a situation where she was watching a man suffer greatly. In that moment, somehow she had the presence of mind to witness this scene in a very different way than has ever been possible before. She was able to record the entire scene with her camera. I don't know where she got the spirit or the presence to hold that camera still as she watched a man's life being squeezed out of him. But she did, and because she did that, she transformed George Floyd's suffering into an impulse that changed the world. In Buddhism, bodhicitta, or the enlightened mind, is the mind that strives toward awakening empathy and compassion for the benefit of all sentient beings. I have taken that vow, and I have made the commitment that I will develop my life and my capabilities in service of others. In closing, here are the bodhicitta vows. I invite you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and listen to these vows as I read them. Beings are numberless, may I free them all. Reactions are endless, may I release them all. Doors to experience are infinite, may I enter them all. Ways of awakening are limitless, may I know them all. Ashe.
It's your turn, Bill. Go right ahead.
Okay. For those who are deprived of some element of sight, I am an elderly white man with white hair and glasses. And that sort of typifies the traditional way that I looked at ministry for about 3/4 of my life. I was a pastor, an interim pastor, a chaplain, and came to realize that there was a part of myself that was not fully expressed in that kind of ministry, and began a search for a place where I could fully be who I believe called to be. So I finally landed a faith tradition that I could be a part of. and be so with the fullness of my heart and mind. But I still wanted to remain a chaplain. And I began my search and found Chaplaincy Institute online. I had never heard of them. I knew no one there. I knew no one who had ever graduated. My first call there took a couple of days for me to get back to them after I got a message and answered the phone. And we began our conversation. Eventually, there was a conversation with John Mabry and myself, and that worked wonders. And I knew from what they told me and what they asked me that ChI was the place that I needed to be. My ministry and the addition of ChI brings me to a brief story first told to me by Cecil Marsh, who probably got it from Charles Schulz. I want you to use your imagination and picture this. Charlie Brown is taking the mound at the beginning of the World Series of little kids baseball. He throws the first pitch and he gets smacked right up the middle, right at Charlie Brown. He goes flying up in the air. His cap comes off, his glove goes off, his shirt comes off, his shoes and socks are scattered around the infield, and he lands on his head in the middle of the pitcher's mound. At which point Lucy is yelling at him from center field that this was all his fault. Shortstop, laying his cap ground. I first heard that story over 20 years ago, and I thought, that's ministry. And that's particularly chaplaincy because we see people who have been knocked upside down by life, by illness, by accident, many of them abandoned long ago by families that have scattered across the world, to sit with them or stand on our heads and bring our woundedness, our suffering, as a symbol of hope and compassion to them. And to do so, as Snoopy does, without the limitations of our own faith tradition, so that we may come together with their faith tradition and all be healed as a result. May it be so.
And now, Bill, here's your charge. Healing is at the heart of every one of the great religious traditions. Bill, you have had an amazing journey of spiritual healing. And now you are going forth to bring that same healing to others. I charge you to step into your full integrity as an interfaith minister, out and proud and apologizing to no one. As we invest you with our trust, with our mission, with our blessing, may you go forth to bring freedom, compassion, healing, and wholeness to everyone you encounter. May you see and honor the Buddha nature in everyone you minister to. Our prayers go with you as you step into this new role as a truly interfaith minister.
Amy, can you hear? Hello, hello everyone. Sarah, it is so delightful to see your face. So delightful. Everyone, my name is Amy Bertain. I use she, her pronouns. I am a middle-aged white woman who is sitting in my car in a parking lot in Seattle. Life is messy. But it is my great honor to offer this charge to my dear, dear, dear companion on this planet, Sarah Donnell. Sarah, I charge you with the sacred work of the artist, the writer, the clown. May you help others find God in play and find freedom in their own divine and beautiful absurdity. May you help us remember the breath, the body, the poetic, the awe. May the connective tissue of your art create bridges of light, circles where we can see and be seen, be held. What verses, what oaths, what sacred contracts, what remembering, what voice, what justice, what love, what play can you help us find? Your gifts, your mystic mission are needed and longed for. May you continually find yourself and help us find ourselves in gleeful pandemonium and sacred moments of stillness as we all spiral deeper in the great unfolding. I love you, Sarah.
Oh boy. How did I get here? How did any of us get here? I mean, where we are right now, sprinkled across the country, tuned into this streaming channel at this moment. This is a special place, this moment, because this isn't just a part of any of our everyday, and I doubt any of us is here just by default or just out of obligation or just for money. That doesn't add up. And yet, here we are, against all odds, in the midst of a rough and wild time to be alive, each of us even bringing our ancestors into this moment. How did we all get here? Almost exactly 10 years ago, in the midwinter of a really rough quarter-life crisis of wondering what on earth to do with my life, I stayed up late trying to calm my existential dread by stitching a holiday present for a friend who I believe is tuning in here today. I patched together some fabric scraps and embroidered on them the words of the beloved Sufi poet Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, who said, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." It is a strange pull, isn't it? One we've been taught not to trust sometimes, because what we really love might not be easily explained, might not be part of the plan, might not seem practical, might not be approved, might open us up to risk, hurt, disappointment, embarrassment, loss. But those things, risk, hurt, disappointment, embarrassment, loss, are all waiting for us anyway. And what is it that pulls us through them other than what we really love? So in that fateful winter of my discontent, I, who did not even know how to embroider, clumsily pulled the thread through these scraps and through these words I loved and thought, if I can't explain it, if it pulls me and it's strange, it must be what I really love. So what the heck? I'll see what happens if I let what I really love move me around. It's the thread that pulled me into the world in the first place. And trusting it pulled me across the world, into my art, into my marriage, and into this spiritual calling between and beyond tradition. It's the pull that got me here. And I think, at least in some small way, the strange pull of love is what brought each of us here today. Maybe it's the love of a friend or a family member, of a community, of the world, of a mission, of a dream, of a mystery, of the divine.
But whatever it is, it stitched us together here for a moment. So I invite you all, if you'll indulge me, to take a moment and just bow to the love in your own heart that got you here. Wow. Where does it want to go next? It's my prayer that we'll all continue to follow this strange pull. Thank you for following it here.
Lisa, yours is a ministry of deep listening, returning, and reuniting. You are a way shower. As a beacon of spirit and a voice of the divine feminine, you ask and listen to the silence between the sounds. You draw pictures and invite us to move through the messy and uncertain so that we may reunite with what has been there all along. Bigger than thoughts and theories, your ministry calls us to return to that which is good, that which is whole, that which is supported by love, laughter, and community. Infused by the power of timelessness, your embodied work in this life asks the question, what are we ready to heal now? And now. And now. I charge you, Lisa, with the faith of a healer, the trust of a mystic, and the steady surrender of one who knows she is not doing her work alone. I charge your ministry with the medicine of truth, healing the patterns that perpetuate harm, addiction, and separation. As you model the resiliency of life and the joyful balance of earth, may you feel the companionship of sisters ancient and sisters present. May you return continually and with ease to the ground firm beneath your feet and the stars high above who know who you are.
Thank you, one of my greatest teachers. What a journey. This all began with something I can only describe as a soul ache that lasted over a decade and couldn't be soothed by the material world. A longing for community that was revolutionary with their time, radically compassionate with the messy human experience, and connected to place in ways that brought us back into right relationship with the land and with one another. Western medicine may have called that depression. In spiritual terms, we refer to it as receiving the call. For the past 20 years, I've attempted to bring consciousness to leaders, corporations, and nonprofits. I've been intimate with the beliefs of separation that enable the crises of all times. I've focused on power, those who have it, those who abuse it, and those who cannot access it. I learned in 12-step communities that all human imbalances begin from a spiritual malady. Vedana Shiva calls it the mechanical reductionist mind, the extractive model of corporate control. She reminds us that the powerful aren't just destroying nature, they're destroying our capacity for solidarity, compassion, and the ability to take care of one another. Martin Luther King Jr. described our propensity towards the imbalance when he said, that power without love is reckless and abusive, and that love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands for love. This is what my work has always been about. Wayne Teasdale says, the rearranging of energy from within is a mystical experience. Tending to our own internal seasons, our meaning making, in the context of the machine, is inherently spiritual work. When I researched the beliefs that underpin police violence, I retreated to the oneness of Vedanta Hinduism. At ChI, I immersed myself in every religious tradition to understand the ways that we've returned to connection in the past, because none of this is new. I began to understand the work of coaches, consultants, chaplains, and ministers like me as simply being fully present while we unlearn dominance and remember a more ancient way of being, an earth-based way, a feminine way. In seminary, this internal upheaval is called discernment. I also understand it as the whispers of my ancestors activating some journey that they began. The more I questioned everything, the more returned to me from a mystical place. I must have written 500 essays on what this day would look like. I imagined giving talks and sermons and convening people around really urgent questions and accompanying the tired change makers of our times. Never did I imagine that on this day, I would be making plant medicines and treating people in an underground network of healers who are being censored and criminalized by corporations providing timeless solutions to our coexistence with viruses. According to Robin Wall Kimmerer, indigenous herbalists teach us to pay attention when the plants come to you. They're trying to teach you something. Apparently, the plants came to me in this last chapter of seminary to help me embody the ancient way of knowing that I had been intellectualizing about, to both center the sick and resist the spiritually ill. My closeness to corporations makes it easy to see that our current reality is simply more imperialism and more colonialism, where a few powerful corporations convince us to worship technology instead of life, while they monetize every human body once again. Because we forgot that there's another way. We reach for war with the body's ecosystem like we have with the planets, under the guise of the greater good. And ministering during a time where the machine manufactures fear and blame, while we are so lonely, so full of loss, that we would do anything to reconnect with one another, must have been what the call was preparing me for. I suspect my ministry will always hold sacred ground in the face of powers that for millennia have used the erasure of indigenous knowledge and female wisdom and the art of division and the economy as tools for reducing life to its resources that they can profit from. But what seminary helped me to recall from the center of my bones was the importance of ritual, of cultivating community capable of holding grief together and resting. This is the nourishment and counterbalance for the important work that lies ahead. Ministry in times of transition is more like being a birth doula, and being there for birthing seems to be the sacred contract I signed in this lifetime. May I always be reminded of the sacred reciprocity and the ancient memory of the village. May I surround myself with a tribe of healers and knowledge protectors who cannot be silenced. May I never forget the wisdom in the seed, the group, or the body. And may I integrate community to learn and receive as much as I give. And may we, all of us, always build the muscle of faith more than we serve the instincts of fear. Thank you.
Sally Dixon Swan. For the past 5 years, your call to interfaith chaplaincy marinated your core and freely flowed forth. You offered your gifts of holy listening, beginner's mind, your capacity to be in a state of wonderment, your non-anxious time, music, and the art of crafting memorial services to patients in a 21-bed rural hospital. Thank you for your tender, life-giving professional spiritual care. It is my honor and my deep joy, Sally, to today use the words of Alice Walker to charge you. Alice states, though we have encountered our share of grief and troubles on this earth, we can still hold the line of beauty, form, and beat. No small accomplishments in a world as challenging as this one. On behalf of your precious daughter, Sophie, and all the witnesses here, seen and unseen, and despite the occasional roar of self-doubt and lethal oppressions in our shared world, I charge you, Sally Dixon Swan, to first, please continue to offer the beauties of your compassionate and courageous heart. For as long as you're able, please, please, please pursue your call to professional chaplaincy, remembering that you are a balm for suffering and a mirror of joy. Be it with human beings or with creatures of land, air, or sea, I charge you, Sally, to continue to engage your radical imagination and to reimagine the form, the packaging of professional chaplaincy, a form that can only be wholly mysterious, deep and wide, priceless, and meant for all of God's creatures. And finally, Sally Dixon Swan, no matter how novice you may think your musical skills are, sacred text invites each of us to make a joyful noise. I charge you to not miss a beat at blessing any soul with your soulful rhythmic licks. What you have to share is good enough, a worthy balm for a weary body, holding beauty, form, and beat in a way that only you can is no small accomplishment, especially in this challenging world that we share. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Sally, for your tender, life-giving, professional spiritual care. Ashe and blessed be.
Thank you very much, Pastor Jacqueline. That was lovely. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sally. I live in Mendocino, California, the ancestral land of Northern Pomo people. Land shared with salmon, bears, whales, mountain lions, bees, red-tailed hawks, and so many other animals. For the past 5 years, I've served as chaplain in our local hospital. I'm passionate about clinical pastoral care, especially during the pandemic. So at first I thought I might speak today about hospital chaplaincy in these times. The experiences of serving patients and staff, it's a sacred vocation. However, today I'll share about another passion, animal chaplaincy. As you might imagine, much of animal ministry involves ceremonies and blessings for companion animals and their people, a meaningful part of what we do. It also involves advocating for the rights of our animal relatives. I ask you, what role do animals hold in your life? Are they loving pets? Are they wild or majestic creatures? Are they food to eat? Let's stay on this last issue for a moment. Most of us are disconnected from how food gets on our plates. The overwhelming majority of meat eaten in our country comes from factory farms, farms which produce and slaughter well over 50 billion animals each year. The lives of these animals are often miserable, short, and full of pain. Factory farms are cruel operations that ignore the sanctity of animal life. Additionally, intensive farming of animals is terrible for our environment. Livestock operations pollute water and air, and they contribute to greenhouse gas emissions more than the emissions of ships, planes, and cars. Also worthy of attention is the massive wastefulness and cruelty of commercial fishing. Please think about this when considering food choices. Choose a diet aligned with your values. You know, are these sentiments about animals frivolous? Not according to science. Consider this. The biologist Charles Darwin, he's best known for contributions to the science of evolution. And Darwin recognized the welfare of animals. He wrote that there's no fundamental difference between man and animals in their ability to feel pleasure in pain, happiness, and misery. We cannot be neutral or indifferent when facing cruelty and abuse. We're responsible to care for animals, much as underrepresented and marginalized people are entitled to justice and protection. We should acknowledge them and actively pursue their well-being. One great step we can all take is to move towards a plant-based diet. With this single step, each of us can prevent harm to hundreds of animals each year. All of life is sacred. Before closing, love to Sophie, Stole-bearer today, my amazing daughter. As a wildlife rehabilitator, she offers her hands, mind, and heart in the field of animal rescue, reminding that all life is sacred. May all farms be humane. May all beings be free of suffering. Ahimsa.
Beloveds, your ordination is a blessing like this great river behind us. Your ordination is a blessing for you and for the world, like the colored trees that surround us, that put oxygen into the air and bless us with their beauty. Your ordination is a gift to you and a gift back to the world. It is a dedication that you make today to use every part of yourself, every gift, all your joy, all your energy and wisdom and benefit of the world that you now serve. And it is a commitment from the universe back to you. May you go forward and be filled with the spirit of this moment today and into your future. May it be so.
Thank you, Gina Rose. All right, friends. All right, you beautiful people. Here is the time when you promise to live your life from this moment forward by our ChI clergy vows. You are saying, this is who I am, and this is what I promise. I know you each to be ready and worthy to take these vows. Now, as we all arrive at the front of the virtual sanctuary here, I invite the people, as the people being ordained here today recite these sacred words to promise these vows, I invite those of you who have taken these before to recommit, to open your heart and be reminded of your sacred promise. Okay, dear ones, beloved ordinands, it's time. I'll ask a litany of questions, and if you are ready, your answer is, I will. So I can't see, are our ordinands all spotlit? Yes, thank you. All right, as an ordained minister in the ChI interfaith community, will you nurture your relationship with the divine and all its manifestations? If so, answer, I will.
I will.
Will you inspire interfaith awareness, cooperation, and connection? I
will.
Will you honor the diversity and unity of all beings, cultures, and traditions?
I will.
Will you continue to nourish yourself in body, heart, mind, and spirit?
I will.
Will you commit to serve peace and justice and sustainability in the world?
I will.
Will you uphold the values of the ChI community, representing us responsibly and with dignity?
I will.
Will you abide by the ChI community's code of ethical conduct? Always serve others with compassion and respect.
I will.
Will you lovingly challenge this community to be the best version of itself and to live up to the things we say we believe?
I will.
And finally, will you allow yourself to be changed, shaped, and transformed by this community?
I will.
Thank you. Now, everyone here, it's your turn. If you're joining us on Zoom, please switch your screen to gallery view so you can see all of these beautiful faces. It's probably the little thing in the upper right corner of your screen. Next, I invite you to take a moment to look at the order of service for today and find page 8. Or if you're with us on Zoom, watch the chat for your part. I'll also call out the response, so listen for me to say the response. Right, ready? ChI interfaith community, is it your wish that we ordain these your friends as interfaith ministers? The response is, it is. Let us ordain them and bless them for ministry.
It is. Let us ordain them and bless them for ministry.
Will you support them and encourage them in their work? Say, we promise our love, support, and care.
We promise our love, support, and our care.
Will you lovingly challenge these new ministers to be the best versions of themselves and to help them live up to the things they say they believe? Say, we will.
We will.
Will you promise to allow yourself to be changed, shaped, and transformed by them? Say, we will.
We will.
Thank you, everyone. Please take a moment to move your screen back to speaker view. Now, friends, now ordinands, as we take the final step in preparation for this act of ordination, we remember and honor the lineage of our founder, Gina Rose. This anointing symbolizes the transmission of the holy, passed in unbroken succession from ancient holy ones, now to you. I invite you to remember the image she shared with us as she stood beneath the Bodhi tree. Remember her blessing. As your dear one touches your forehead with oil, it prepares you to see beyond sight, to recognize the divine. It opens your third eye to that which is seen with the heart and spirit beyond our physical realm. This anointing opens you to the act of ordination. Please receive your anointing as you are ready.
Susan.
Dear friends of the Chaplaincy Institute, my name is Jürgen Schwing. I'm Director of Spiritual Care at the Chaplaincy Institute. I go by he, him. I'm a middle-aged man, a white man with curly hair. I come to you from the sacred land of the Miwok and the Yokuts, and I am honored to now proceed to the part of this service where we lay on hands on our ministers to complete the act of ordination, together with receiving your stoles and being anointed, Rika, Sarah, Bill, Lisa, and Sally. We will now lay hands on you to complete the act of ordination by the ChI community. The laying on of hands is rooted in both history and mystery. First, for the history. Throughout the centuries and even millennia, spiritual traditions have called out from among themselves qualified leaders to serve the community. Consistent with this history, the act of laying on of hands represents the ChI community's trust in our ordinance. Our laying on of hands represents our choice to ask Rika, Sarah, Bill, Lisa, and Sally to serve as leaders and servants on behalf of our community. These 5 ordinances have gone through a rigorous process of preparation, learning, and assessment. They have studied the world religions, developed self-awareness, explored the role of spirit in social transformation. They have presented a written statement of their theologies. They were examined by the ChI community in a process we call a competency assessment. We have found them to have an authentic call and to be properly prepared. Today, we recognize their call and entrust them with the authority to be spiritual leaders among us. And now to the mystery of this ordination. The laying on of hands represents a spiritual empowerment. In addition to expressing our trust in them, we call on the divine, which we know by many names and who is beyond all names, to bless them, to empower them, and to guide them. As a community gathered today virtually, we will transmit a spiritual blessing to them that we recognize as the act of ordination. So let me tell you, to prepare you for a moment, about the steps that we will take. And don't start the steps yet, because I'm just explaining it, and then we will do it together. We will do this laying on of hands in several steps. First, the family and friends physically present in the room with our ordinance will put their hands on the ordinance. We will then ask previously ordained clergy and spiritual leaders from among the ChI community in many traditions to lay on hands virtually. And then family and friends of the ordinance who are with us today virtually, we will ask you to lay on hands virtually. And finally, all who are with us today online will contribute and participate in the laying on of hands. To prepare for this, let us feel the power that lies in our hands. I will ask you to please join me in putting your hands palm to palm. Be aware of the presence inside of your bodies, and be aware of the energy that lies in this field between your hands. You may want to put them closer together and a little further apart to intuit into and feel the power that is present between these hands and in your hands. And so now we come to this act of transmission and blessing. And I ask first family and friends that are with the ordinance to please lay your hands on the ordinance to participate and execute this act of transmitting divine blessing. And now I ask everyone, as well as the ordinance in their rooms, to please switch to gallery view so that you can see everyone who will participate in this laying on of hands. So now I ask all previously ordained clergy to please lift your hands in front of the camera so we can see them on the screen to participate in this blessing. And I now ask family and friends who are gathered online to please lift your hands and transmit your blessing. And finally, everyone who is on this call, please lift your hands and transmit this blessing to these ordinance. And join me in prayer. Loving God, we give thanks for these ordinance who have come before us and before you to commit to living the call which they have received from you. Loving divine mystery, transform their consciousness into the bodhicitta, that all beings may receive support in their journey toward awakening and freedom. Help them to express all of who they are in their interfaith powers. Loving God, we give thanks that they agreed to be silently drawn by the pull that brought them to loving and living based on what they truly love. Holy One, we give thanks for the soul egg that brought them here to birth a new community of solidarity with the land and one another. Loving God, we ask that they will contribute to the well-being of humans and animals, to all the sacred beings that roam the earth. Loving God, together we now transmit to them the blessing that you are giving through us to them. Rika, Bill, Sarah, Lisa, and Sally, we lift up your lives and ministries, and we lift up your beings into the divine mystery. With this act of laying on of hands, we now duly ordain you. Amen.
Everyone, please switch your screen back to speaker view so you can see these beautiful new clergy. Thank you, dear ones. It is my honor to present to you these ChI clergy members. The Reverend Sally Swan, Interfaith Chaplain. The Reverend Lisa Rousey Ruth, Interfaith Minister and Corporate Chaplain. The Reverend Sarah Hayes Donnell, Interfaith Chaplain. The Reverend Patricia Rica Caceres, Interfaith Minister. Chaplain William H. Davis Jr., Interfaith Minister. Let us unmute and celebrate together. These are colleagues and friends.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations, wonderful.
Salvation, swastir, bhavatu. Salvation, shantir, bhavatu.
I think I just did that today.
I thought you were supposed to click on something for your room.
You will. Well, if I get it, I'll click.
Okay, awesome. Hold on.
Beloved gathered community, thank you for honoring us with your presence today. If you're joining us on Zoom and would like to greet our new clergy, please watch for an invitation to join a breakout room. If you need help, we'll be here. I want to thank our newly ordained colleagues and their people, to thank our treasured ChI faculty and staff, and I offer a deep bow of gratitude to the wonderful tech team here today, Michael Clements, Reverend Cecily Neprath, Shay Green, Ren Gannon-Pinto, and LaShonda Lewis. Thank you, friends. As we close our ceremony, I invite you to join me in the spirit of celebratory prayer. Spirit of life and love, universe, all that is. We honor these beloved clergy, this beloved community. As one of our new clergy shared early on in our planning for today, this is not only a threshold, it's an acknowledgement of what it took to follow a call in these times. Bless these amazing new clergy that they said yes to this call. We are so grateful. As we pray together, so it is. Thank you, everyone. Watch for the breakout rooms. Love to you all.
Thank you, Carrie, for everything you did.
I love you all very much.
Thank you, Carrie. So loving.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful service. Congratulations, all you new ordinands.
Blessings, blessings. Hop in the breakout rooms. Watch for your clergy.
Yeah,
And
if anyone needs help getting into a breakout room, please just speak up and I'll help you get in there.
I'll go, Cecily.
Okay.